Obama's secret prisons and part of his secret counterterrorism war, especially in the South, where the Taliban is strongest and gaining in strength because they want the United States out. In the counterterrorism war, Obama is being completely consistent with the policies of the Bush administration. In fact, he is taking them one step further, because just as he promised to have Guantanamo Bay shut within a year, as we now know today, it is still open and operating. And when the Military Commissions Act allowed the military courts of this nation to deny all of the prisoners taken the right of habeas corpus, the Supreme Court during the Bush administration overturned this ruling and said that no, prisoners in Guantanamo Bay and at the Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, which is probably 100 times worse, these prisoners do have the right of habeas corpus. Well, Barack Obama has now gone beyond Bush in appealing the Supreme Court's habeas corpus decision. Namely, he believes that the Gitmo and Bagram prisoners have the right of prisoners do not have the right of habeas corpus. Obama's Justice Department is trying to overrule it, which would give them the right to capture anyone, anywhere in the world, and send them to a black hole in Bagram and elsewhere, where they could be tortured at will and never heard from again. Obama has also seen to it that people under the Bush administration guilty of initiating or carrying out acts of torture and imprisonment will not be punished. Finally, I wanted to take a minute just to talk about the Obama administration's policy on Iran, because as many of you know, Iran has become one of the hot spots of the Middle East. The Middle East in itself has long been a sizzling cauldron of conflicts. The fault lines there are hardening. You have the Iranian Republic, Syria, Hezbollah, and Hamas forming one fault line. You have the United States, Israel, and the so-called moderate Arab states of Egypt, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is called a moderate Arab state, forming the other fault line. And Saudi Arabia is terrified of Iran and does not want Iran to have nuclear weapons. I don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons either, but I don't want Israel, India, or Pakistan to have nuclear weapons either. And I don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. But you see, there are another set of double standards here, because Iran signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. And under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, Iran has the right to enrich uranium full cycle, meaning it has the right to produce weapons-grade uranium, but not to build a bomb. Now, this causes a lot of confusion in people's minds, but there is a significant difference. The Iranians are not stupid. Their government is repressive, reprehensible in many ways, but the Iranians are not suicidal. They want their rights under the NPT respected, and those rights ought to be respected, but they really don't want to build a bomb because it would give the United States and Israel an excuse overnight to send a military strike force over to the regions of Iran where it could knock out the hidden or underground nuclear sites such as in Bushehr in Iran and outside in other areas. So what's the point? The point is that Obama has given repeated assurances to Israel and India, two non-signers of the NPT, not to worry about any UN or other sanctions against them or complaints that these two countries haven't signed the NPT. At the same time, he is pressuring other governments in Europe and around the world to sanction Iran from its continuing process of enriching uranium. This, of course, is a double standard and one that we have to think about very carefully. The point simply is Iran is in a very difficult situation. Unless it has the deterrent capacity to build a bomb, Israel will be able, with the United States backing, to continue to dominate the region. But if it has the capability of building a bomb and yet does not, there is a deterrent that is implicit. This is what the United States fears most of all, and this is what Barack Obama is. This is the reason he is threatening sanctions on Iran and threatening countries that don't sanction Iran with sanctions themselves. One could go on for days about the foreign policy of the Bush and Obama administrations. They really go hand in hand, and it's very, very discouraging. However, I have a friend in the audience who will probably kill me if I go over time. So I want to end on a more optimistic note. I also brought in a quote by Howard Zinn, and I think it tells us what all of the other panelists so far have said tonight. I try to tell each group that they are not alone, and that the very people who are disheartened by the absence of a national movement are themselves proof of the potential for such a movement. Revolutionary change does not come as one cataclysmic moment. Beware of such moments, but as an endless succession of surprises moving zigzag toward a more decent society. We don't have to engage in grand, heroic actions to participate in the process of change. Small acts